I got a free laptop from a company called MindGroo. Parts 4 and 5 by Likeeyedid. I was inside the MindGroo company building. This whole time I thought it would end if I finally made it inside. But sitting in this peculiar office, I realized that I had fallen right into their trap. "Jamie, open up! I need you!" I heard Connie's voice through the door. Jonah and I shot each other a look. I had brought him to my place after we both almost got killed. For some reason, MindGroo had seemed to have chosen me as someone who deserved to be protected, even if I didn't really understand why at that point. All I kept thinking about was that it couldn't possibly have something to do with some irrelevant answers I gave in the survey. "Jamie, please, I think they're after me." We stayed silent. "I think they want to kill me." She sounded out of breath. "Just like they did with Miranda." Jonah was clenching his fist. "Baby, please, I miss you." We heard the sound of a soft cry from behind the door. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I got sucked into this," she mumbled. "You know how much you mean to me. You've always been more than a friend. You know that." She paused. "Jamie, I would never hurt you. Not like Madeline did. I'm always here for you." My heart started racing. I hadn't heard her name in years. Hearing it come from Connie's mouth sent a shiver down my spine. They could have planted all sorts of information into my phone, put up surveillance in my house and all around it, gotten the school up against me. But how did they find out about Madeline? I was fuming. I got up, ready to slam the door open, but Jonah held me back. "It's not real, Jamie. Don't listen to her." He was right. We had been observing as many of the people in the town as we could. The word had spread that I was a snake, and while many didn't know what that meant, they all knew it was something to be afraid of. It's funny how people see the world. They will believe with all their hearts that they are special and more important than others, but at the same time blindly follow some made-up elite. It's happened often in the past, and it is what was happening to the lost people of Rockefort. The space in their brains that was filled with an identity, with morals and thoughts, had been replaced by the goal of their respective group. Thinking beyond that had become impossible for them. If they had to kill a mouse, they would. If they had to obey some snake, they would not even hesitate to question why. The news about Principal Merrywood had made the rounds. The first bird that died, and their grueler informed them about the person that had instigated that murder. Jamie Jones. They wouldn't hurt me. Of that, I was sure. They also wouldn't simply break into my home. It wasn't me who they were after. It was Jonah. They were running out of mice, and their thirst for blood was growing more and more by the minute. While nobody knew what class Jonah even belonged to, they all knew that he was a traitor for not participating, and that couldn't be worth more than a pathetic mouse. Slowly, more and more people started approaching. They all stood outside. Sometimes they would shout or say something, but they never tried to break in. I didn't know how much time had passed. I had lost all sense of what time even was. We had been going through different scenarios and tried to plan out our next steps. Hiding forever was no option. Neither was talking to the townspeople. When we discussed the subject of leaving town, Jonah made more than clear that it was no option for him. "They have Miranda. I know she's inside there." "You're only telling me now? What the hell?" I shouted as I got up from the chair I was sitting in. "Are there other mice as well?" He shook his head. Pretty sure the other people that had disappeared are not alive anymore. He took a big gulp out of the whiskey that he had found on my shelf and continued. I picked up some rumors at the pub. I deeply hope it's not true, but, I mean, you've seen the fucking madness out there. I was speechless, thinking about the fact that those poor children that I used to teach were dead, probably murdered by their own friends and neighbors, made me feel sick. And Miranda? I asked carefully. His lips formed a bittersweet smile. She's at the company. That's what the MindGroo psychopath told me when he paid me a visit the other day. He showed me some video material of her locked in a tiny room, and made clear that she would die if I left town. Not that I was planning to, anyway. This town is my home, and I will not let those bastards take it away from us. I nodded. Jonah had always been a strange guy, but I admired how authentic he always seemed, even if he usually kept it to himself. We talked for a while longer until he eventually passed out on my sofa. I thought about going to sleep as well, but I couldn't. A million thoughts were racing through my head, and the crowd was still outside. I had no idea how we could ever get out of here without them noticing us. I was interrupted by the sound of my Groo guy.
Wonderful evening to you, Jamie. We are so thrilled to see that you are using your new Groo products. We have a hunch that you are enjoying the benefits of our high-tech products and couldn't be prouder. Of course, we can't look right into your head just yet, so it would be lovely if you could just fill out this quick survey on the Groo guy.
I hadn't noticed before, but the way the messages were worded and the way the Groo people talked to me, there was something about it. Naturally, it sounded really odd. Not the way people usually speak, but there was something about it that felt painfully familiar. I didn't wake up Jonah. I didn't think it through. I simply opened the survey. This was one of the questions it asked me.
You recently used a terrific function of your Groo guy, the decision app. We got notified that you made sure a bird was squished, as if it was nothing more than a nasty little mouse. How did that make you feel? 1. Absolutely brilliant. I would rather have more decisions to make, though. I get bored easily. 2. Fantastic. There are too many of those annoying birds around. Execution was done perfectly. 3. Not great. I wish I could have turned that bird's neck myself.
I wasn't surprised by these types of questions anymore. The bad part was what came later on. It was a personal questionnaire. Each question could only be answered with yes or no.
1. Has a person ever made your heart ache so much that you wish they didn't exist? 2. Have you ever felt the need to run and never stop until you forget what a horrible person you are? 3. Have you ever been afraid to get close to someone because you know what you are capable of? 4. Did you at least feel a little bad for poor Madeline, for her broken bones and deformed face?
My entire body was shaking. Tears shot to my eyes. I had feared it, but now it was clear. They knew everything. I have no idea how they got that information, as I never told anyone, but somehow they knew. I felt the dread in my stomach grow. That's why their communication felt so familiar. They were trying to copy Madeline. She always had a bit of an eccentric side to her, and sometimes it felt like you were transformed back to the 50s when talking to her. She was from some strange place I'd never heard of before, and her bringing up had been a bit unusual, as she said. I didn't mind it, though. She was different, and I liked that. I thought her ways were cute, at least when things were still good between us.
Thank you for completing the survey, Jamie. We believe that it would be better if we discussed everything in more detail personally. A car is on its way to your home right now.
I knew I had to go along. I didn't care about the consequences anymore. If anything, I only cared about getting Jonah and Miranda out safely. The car was there not 5 minutes later. I woke up Jonah and tried to explain as much as I could, but it wasn't much. Before we could plan out our next steps, the doorbell rang. I went to the window and saw that the crowd of people was still there, but they had walked to the other side of the street. They weren't doing anything, just staring. With a mixed feeling of dread and fear, I opened the door to welcome the shiny guy who was smiling as always.
Wonderful evening to you, asshole, I said, and his smile grew even bigger. Would you please follow me to the car? He asked, as if I had a choice. Jonah appeared behind me. He can come too. He turned his gaze towards Jonah. I guess that's what you want. See your friend? I swear this is the dumbest thing we've ever done, Jamie. We're letting them take us to hell. We crossed that point a while ago, Jonah. All of Rockefort is hell. I wish I could tell you what happened next. All I know is that I was sitting inside an office building. My hands were cupped to a table. The room looked modern, with lots of bright colors and furniture that looked like it was designed by the most creative people on Earth. Everything seemed wrong, but so right at the same time. I was still trying to come to my senses as I realized that there was a woman in the room with me. A young woman, not older than 25. With long brown hair and a friendly smile on her face. Not like the MindGroo people, but genuinely friendly. It felt so out of place. Welcome to MindGroo, Jamie. Can I offer you something to drink? Maybe a glass of fresh, sparkling Arendelle? My eyes grew wide. I felt like I was sent to some different universe. Who the hell are you? I said while trying to pull my hands free, but failed. You can just call me Eliza. I'm kind of the boss here. She giggled. Although you didn't mean me specifically, did you? I couldn't process the situation. It wasn't right. This girl or woman couldn't possibly be behind this mindfuck. I wanted to shout or at least ask questions, but my mind felt empty. It was hard to process any of what was going on. Finally, I whispered, Jonah. Oh, don't worry about your friend. He's fine. We'd still like him to complete the survey, so he was brought into one of our testing rooms. Testing rooms? What the hell? Who are you people? What do you want from Rockefort? Jamie, calm down a little, yeah? I can't answer so many questions at once. And actually, you little sneaky snake, I'm supposed to be interviewing you, not the other way around. She laughed. Alright, let's start with the most thrilling subject. Why'd you kill Madeline? She didn't even flinch as she said those words. She even kept smiling. I didn't. Oh yes, honey, you did. You pushed her from the cliff and she fell and fell and fell. You still have nightmares about this, don't you? It was an accident, I whispered. Her friendly smile vanished and she hit her fists on the table and her green eyes lit up. Then she seemed to get control back and calmly said, You've lied enough now. The reason you wouldn't leave or act out on MindGroo weren't the incriminating pictures of children on your phone. Maybe you could have even proven that you were innocent, simply being framed. Except you know that you're not innocent. And if any investigation ever started, everyone would find out about your dirty little secret. About how all your friends knew that things weren't going well between Madeline and you. How she was about to leave you, and for your best friend out of all people.
and how both of you went on that little trip and only you came back.
It was an accident, I whispered again.
If it was an accident, why did you leave your entire life behind to come and live in a shithole like Rockefort? She sighed. You could have decided to sell the house and start your life somewhere nice. Instead, you took an unsatisfying job at an awful school where you hate your boss. Well, hated. I guess that situation played out well for you.
She was trying to break me, and I think she was succeeding.
The few friends you have here mean nothing to you. You wouldn't dare to get too close. You live your life in vain, telling yourself you are happy. But we both know that you're not. You're bored.
I looked at the ground, tears filling my eyes.
Oh, sweetie, don't cry. What you did wasn't bad. You're special. Better than most people on this planet.
Because I'm a snake? I spoke towards the ground. She laughed.
Whatever you want to call it. You're part of an elite. The birds or mice or whatever they think they are don't matter. In the end, they're all simply rats in our cage. What matters is how we use them to fulfill the right purpose. To achieve the change that this godforsaken earth so desperately needs.
Are you fucking insane? What is this place? I had to laugh. This couldn't be real. What had my life become in these last days? Or was it weeks? The woman started walking towards the door.
I know it's a lot to swallow, and I'm not great at explaining. We used to have a researcher who took care of these things, but, well, we kind of separated. Long story.
She rolled her eyes. She winked at me once more and added,
I have to get going now, but I'll be sending in my intern soon.
You never question your morals until you face a real dilemma. How often do you get to decide on the fate of another person? It's easy to say that you would step up for others in your own free will, as long as you never actually have to do it. There are only very few people on Earth that wouldn't sell away their moral and soul in exchange for power, prestige, and a sense of freedom. The ones that can resist are the true heroes. Unfortunately, I'm not. What the woman was saying was true, at least to a degree. Years ago, I met a girl in college, Madeline. We fell in love fast and hard. I found her peculiar ways and habits irresistible, and quickly knew that I never wanted to let her go. Unfortunately, she saw things differently, as she fell for my best friend. Of course, everyone but me had known about it for a while, but I was still stuck in my love bubble. She decided to tell me about all of it in the worst possible place, during a hiking trip. I still don't understand why she even came. She should have canceled. I didn't want it to happen. I swear I never did. We started fighting. I don't even remember what we said. Just that it was a lot of shouting and screaming. Before I knew it, I gave her a push and she stumbled. When I realized what was happening, I tried to grab her, save her, but it was already too late. She fell and fell and fell. Nobody was ever able to prove that I really had anything to do with it. I never met her family. She didn't talk about them much. All I knew was that they had some big candy store. Apparently business meant everything to them. They didn't even show up after she died. All of her former friends despised me, though. I think they could smell the corruption on me. So I decided it would be best to disappear. When I got the chance to move into my grandmother's house, I was more than happy. I was more than happy to come to Rockefort. I thought I'd be safe from my gruesome thoughts in this place where nothing ever happens. For years, I was able to somehow live. I never truly forgot, but I had gotten used to my new day-to-day life here. Inside, I always knew there was
something not exactly right with me. I was distracted just enough to not think about it, though. That is, until MindGroo came to town. I was surprised by the insanity that this place went through after Gruelers were introduced, but in a way, it was also interesting. From a strictly objective, observant perspective, of course. I sat inside the office room for what must have been hours. While there were big windows right in front of me, I couldn't see any of the outside world. At least, I didn't think I could. I knew that it should have been dark outside by now, but it wasn't. The lighting in the room never changed the whole time I was there. I thought about a lot of things, about Madeline, and about what this Eliza person told me, about what she said, about different types of humans. Could I really be more important than I always thought I was? I wondered if Madeline would have been a bird. Finally, there was a knock on the door, and two familiar faces came inside the office room. I almost had a laugh. Had this situation not been so absurd? It was Mario and Nikki. Two of the kids I was teaching, well, used to teach. They were both wearing suits, but not the black and white ones that the salespeople used. They were green. They looked like two little leprechauns, which made it really hard to take any of what they said seriously.
Mr. Jones, have you already decided?
Nikki asked. Decided what? Boys, what on earth are you doing here? They shot each other a look.
For a teacher, you are pretty clueless, Mr. Jones. Actually, do you mind if I call you Jamie?
Go ahead, but Mario, can you do me a favor and maybe unlock the handcuffs? He shrugged. Fine, but if I was you, I wouldn't try to leave. You'll never find your way out, he said as he gave Nikki the key to unlock the handcuffs. What do you mean by that?
This building isn't what it looks like from the outside. It's a labyrinth, and it changes all the time. New hallways show up. Sometimes it looks super nice and fancy, and sometimes it changes into a prison or asylum.
I frowned. Did they give you anything? Some weird drink or...
They didn't drug us, Mr. J. We are here because we deserve it. We are snakes,
Nikki answered. We've been snakes from the start. Where do you think they got the nudes from that they put on your phone? Mario laughed. I felt sick even thinking about that. What about your friends? Your family? There's a world out there. Have you completely forgotten about that? I asked in disbelief. Oh, fuck off, Mr. Jones, Nikki exclaimed. I knew him as such a nice and shy boy. He had changed to an entirely different person. Yeah, fuck off, Mario agreed. Don't act like you're such a good guy. We know what you're really like. Boys, I don't know what they told you, but they told us you killed your ex-girlfriend. We both agreed that it was badass. Eliza told us that your ex sucked, so we actually think that what you did was cool, Mario said. What? Everything you did after that made you a loser and a coward. I don't even know how you deserve to be a snake. I always thought Nikki liked me as a teacher. I was seeing a completely new side of him. You knew exactly what the other kids used to do to me. How they tortured me every day, and you never did anything. You always act like this super nice teacher, but you suck, he continued. Calm down, man, he's a killer, Mario said. And a snake, which makes you one of us. What does that mean? What is this place? Does it matter? They give us purpose. Working for Eliza is awesome. We get to make decisions. Real decisions. We can finally change something on this shitty planet. Nikki's eyes were shining bright. They told us about a massive new project, and for some reason they want you to lead it. Project? I asked. Yes, Eliza says some of the rats escaped, and they'd like us to catch them. Nasty little rats that need to be squished. They both laughed. Imagine, Jamie.
Imagine what you can become. You won't simply be a part of the change. You'll be leading it. You know deep down that rats must die. You knew that Madeline was a rat. You know that because you are better than the rest. Join me, Jamie. I need you. Eliza was back in the room. I hadn't even realized that the boys were gone. I ran my hand through my face. It felt frizzy. When had I grown a beard? I couldn't have been here longer than a day. Something about this woman was insanely mesmerizing. Her perfect face, the red lips, and her angelic voice. Logically, I knew that everything she was saying was cruel and insane. I had seen with my own eyes what they had done to the people in the town, but I couldn't help wondering whether it was really the fault of MindGroo. Did they actually do anything besides giving the people laptops and some made-up power over others? I had gotten the same things and didn't spray symbols on my house and sacrifice mice. Maybe I was better? Maybe those people did need someone to guide them, to make the decisions. Don't you want your life to finally make sense again? She said as she graced my face with her hand. I swallowed. I do. She smiled and held out her hand. I was just about to shake it, but we got interrupted. A loud siren started blasting. Eliza ran to the door and opened it. Red light filled up the room. The alarm got louder and louder. Fuck! She shouted and ran outside. I had no idea what was going on. I felt like this alarm woke me up from a long sleep. I walked out the door and tried to follow her, but I couldn't see her anywhere. I ran down a long hallway with endless doors looking for stairs or an elevator, or any indication how I could leave this floor. But there was nothing, and all the doors were locked. A weird smell came through one of the doors. It smelled like burned plastic. I started breathing heavily. I felt like I was stuck in a prison. Meanwhile, the red light and alarm didn't stop. Finally, a door opened and somebody pulled me inside. Run, quick! It was Jonah, and behind him I saw Miranda. I hardly had any time to understand anything of what was going on, but we were in the staircase, and we ran down as fast as we could. My fight response pulled me back to reality, and eventually I smelled the fresh, cold air outside. Somehow we actually pulled it off to get out. I thought they would try to catch us, to get us back, but they didn't. We were free. None of it was thanks to me, though. Nikki was right. I am a coward. If it hadn't been for Jonah, I would have become a part of MindGroo. He had saved me, just in time. I couldn't comprehend what kind of nightmare I had been going through, even with the explanation that Jonah gave me. As to Jonah, he had been going through some testing. They felt like he was the perfect person to examine their new products. After completing the survey, it turned out that he was a snake as well. Or at least, he made them believe that he was. In reality, Jonah was smarter than all the snakes combined. He never forgot about his real life. Jonah wasn't a real snake. He was the only person with morals. I asked him for some drinks and a smoke to celebrate. And then I made a fire. This tech stuff burns great. But how did you know where to find me? And Miranda? I thought the building was some labyrinth. It is, but I had a lot of time to scheme and prepare. I just stared at him. We hadn't been in the company for a day or two. We had been in there for months. I don't think I ever left that office room, and all I have are those few chunks of memory. In my mind, it had all happened in order. Talking to Eliza, to Mario and Nikki, and then Eliza again. Until Jonah came to save me, but that's not possible. A lot more happened, but I'll need some time to process everything. Of course, the fire wasn't big enough to burn down the entire building, but it burned away everything connected to the Gruelers. And seemingly that was all it took for them to leave Rockford. They took their fancy cars and drove off. I never saw Nikki or Mario again, but I have a feeling that they were in one of those cars that left, together with Liza and the shiny men. During the months that we had been locked up, they had changed the entire town. You might imagine a big fucked up mess right now, but it was exactly the opposite. They had renovated and cleaned everything. It looked like an entirely new place. The formerly old and musty Three Sisters pub now had a new and flashy design. So did all the houses. They made sure to leave the symbols, but now they were framed into a facade with gold. The blood was washed off from the streets, and life quickly went back to normal. I think there was something true in the things Eliza told me. In their own way, they were trying to improve Rockford. They just made a big mess in the process. The people of the town didn't seem to remember what happened, but they didn't question the fact that Rockford had become a completely new town either. They continued their lives not knowing that everything had changed. Excuses were made for the people that had disappeared. They had accidents, children had run away from home, some committed suicide. Of course, none of that was true, but the townspeople accepted the false memories. Maybe their minds were safer this way, not knowing what they had done. Or maybe this made things even more dangerous, because deep inside, they must have known that there was this short time where they were told that they were birds and that they thought a made-up title gave them the privilege to put their own lives above others. But then again, who am I to judge? Miranda continued working at the Three Sisters pub. Jonah didn't. Besides me, he was the only person who remembered the old Rockford. I think he tried to somehow make sense out of everything, but slowly gave up. We still meet sometimes for a drink, but never at the pub. Besides that, I went back to my boring life. I almost got used to it again, until I received a postcard in the mail. The front has a picture of a rat in a cage, and the back has the following text written on it, with a stain of red lipstick on the bottom.
MindGroo 2.0 is now in progress. We cordially invite you to join us during the next chapter of MindGroo, or however you would like to call it. We cannot wait to share our plans and our most recent revolutionary products with you. As you may have heard, we recently lost a few rats, and we would love getting some help from our snakes to catch them. Everything will be discussed at the opening festivities. You will not find us on a regular map, but if you accept our invitation, a car will come and pick you up soon.
There was no return address or any other information. There was no way to decline it. Typical for MindGroo to assume that having a choice is nothing but an illusion anyway. Hey guys, 4-Shot Pastas here. I want to thank you guys for checking out this video. And I think that you guys would probably like my other videos on this channel if you stuck around this long. I want to say that I recommend going to check out Horror Hive. I recently did a narration for them, and it will be going up within the next month at some point. And I think you guys would really like it. Anyway, guys, have a good night. Stay creepin'.